Pete hadn't told me that he was coming over in August. Pete was like, got some good news, Chris. I'm coming over for 2 weeks. And I was like, when are you coming over, Pete? He was like, end of August. And I'm like, I'm not here.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to the Abroad in Japan podcast. Probably the best way of learning about life in Japan without actually being in Japan. I'm your host, Chris Broad, and we're joined, as always, by England's top Japan enthusiast, Mr. Pete Donaldson himself. Pete, how the devil are you doing? What's going on?
Oh, it's Prosecco o'clock, people.
Oh no,
it's not actually. It's quite. It's just the afternoon, really. It's way too early to be drinking Prosecco, to be quite frank, on a Sunday.
Yes,
yeah, I'm good, man. I am. I'm approaching my trip to Japan.
Ooh.
Cannot wait to turn on my out of office. Can't wait to get on that flight and just sit somewhere where no one can talk to me or contact me or make me do things I don't want to do for a full 14 hours or however long it's going to be.
How long? I don't actually know how long you were coming to Japan for, right? How long? A week?
I think it's just over a couple of weeks. Yeah, just over a couple of weeks. Well, I planned a slightly longer trip because I thought we could, record some shows. But we're basically we've exchanged places. Basically, you're going to be you're going to be over here. I think, and I'm going to be over there. It's just how it is worked out.
I'm livid, Pete. I'm absolutely
livid.
This has been like the big thing. Pete hasn't been here since 2020. Before, a lot has happened since 2020. The world is a different place. The world is changing, and we've been so excited here on the podcast to have you come over to Japan, and yet the time you're coming here is the one time I'm going away for a few weeks myself. So I remember, like, back in April, I think, when you announced this, and Pete hadn't told me that he was coming over in August. Pete was like, got some good news, Chris. I'm coming over for 2 weeks. And I was like, when are you coming over, Pete? He was like, end of August. And I'm like, I'm not here. Because I'm going to be in like a shop in London doing book signings. And you're going to be sitting here eating bloody energy jelly and coolish alone. But
that'll be a bit of fun, won't it? Doing like a book signing and stuff, like doing your. Which shops are you going to be doing that in?
I was looking forward to it, but now you're not going to be there. I was hoping.
I know I'm not going to be there to help
carry the books,
sign some books.
I wanted to be like Prince Charles's pen holder. You know, Prince Charles signed everything and became king, and then he got really angry because the pen was in the wrong place or some shit. I wanted to be like that. I want to be like, fucking pretty bastard, but it's going to be sad. It's going to be lonely without Pete Donaldson in London.
Never mind.
Never mind.
We'll find some time, I'm sure.
I'll get over it. But I'll be in Waterstones, London, like the big boy bookstore.
Whoa,
yeah, big one.
That's a big one. Is that Piccadilly?
One.
No,
Piccadilly. Yeah,
Piccadilly. That's a beautiful building.
It's
just generally a beautiful building.
Yeah.
It's well worth visiting, even if Chris wasn't there.
It's like Tuesday, Murakami Haruki. Wednesday, Richard Dawkins. Friday, that guy from YouTube. It's it's not quite as glamorous.
Well, we'll see how long the queues are. Yeah. Who's the more relevant?
Take that, Richard
in 2023.
Dawkins. Take that, Richard. We'll see. But no, it's exciting. It's scary. But fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never done a book signing. Is it going to take a lot of time to be like, hello, Dave, it's Chris. Thanks for buying the book.
When you did your live show before Christmas that I witnessed, I obviously didn't have to do any signing, but you and Natsuki and Sharla, you were all kind of working bloody hard. And there was 2 showings of the video and the show that you were doing. Separated by 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yes.
And in the 2.5 hours, you filled that entire time just doing signings, and then after the show as well, I think we managed to get some food later on, but it was a really difficult, long old process.
It was brutal. Yeah, we did the show in London, right, and we had like about 300 people or 400 the first one, and then they all got on a queue at the end, and I like signed everything, took photos. It was really fun talking to everyone, right? Including many of you guys listening and watching now. And then I had 2 hours to do that. And while I was like talking to people, the new folks were coming in for the second run. And we had to hide Natsuki because it was a secret that he was going to be there, like a joke, right? And then people were coming in, I had to like stuff Natsuki into like a fucking crate so we could hide him and whatnot. It was a disaster. Hopefully the book signing won't be as mental as that was. Fingers crossed. But I went on a proper podcast this week. I went on Trash Taste. Haha,
Oi!
your favourite.
This is a proper podcast, I'll have you know. We've been going a lot longer than Trash Taste, god damn it.
Yeah, I'd say...
5 years.
I'd say we're more...
5 years.
We're better, innit? I'd say we're more of a podcast than Trash Taste, because we were solely just a podcast. But then, I feel like the definition of podcast has changed a lot these days, because now podcast just means a show that's put in a video. But either way, it was great to see the lads, Connor, Garn, Joey. It was really cool to hang out with them and catch up. And
it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a while since we did Trash Taste.
It's been like nine months or something. So, yeah, it was really fun. Really cool to hang out with the lads.
Good stuff.
But, yeah, it's been really fun. We're now, this is our 4th episode, guys, doing the Abroad in Japan podcast on YouTube. We're now up there with the big boys, like the Trash Taste lads. We never actually really spoke about why we took this to YouTube. And the answer is... we thought, why not? Because it's...
boredom.
Boredom, innit?
We get very bored very easily.
We do.
We want something new.
And also, when you spent like $1 billion on an amazing studio you use like once every 3 months, it kind of makes sense to use it for a podcast, to be honest. And yeah, I'm going to try and mix the scene up every like month or so. Right now I'm in the Ramen Shop. Here we are, the Ramen Shop.
Yeah.
There's ramen over there. Of course it's a ramen shop. It's real ramen, that is.
Delicious ramen.
Delicious. Over on the other...
those little dumplings.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, little dumplings.
Gyoza.
That's amazing.
Or as they're called...
Gyoza, sorry, yeah.
They're often called, in weird translations, pot stickers, which I hate the name of.
Pot stickers.
Pot stickers.
Oh, because it's when you cook them, they get stuck to the pot.
So, what, pot stickers? It sounds like it sounds like a slur. It sounds like a discrimination.
Like a little pot sticker.
Like pot stickers.
It sounds like pot pickers, or it sounds like the plot thickens.
The plot thickens with the pot stickers.
The pot stickens.
You come to the Abroad Japan book signing, you get a pot sticker, also known as a gyoza.
They do look good. I just love. That's one of the things that is well worth hunting out. Those kind of stores that kind of sell this reproduction food, because obviously every restaurant in the front has depictions of what the meal should look like. But some of the artistry, putting these little kind of like resin sort of figures of dishes. There's just something magical about it, and it's the only place they do it in the world, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean the best gyoza, and this is the place you've got to go to. It's a little bit out of the way. You're renting a car, right, when you come to Japan in a few weeks?
Yeah.
For a bit.
For a bit.
All right. There's a place in Fukushima, of all places. It's called Enban Gyoza. Enban Gyoza. If you look it up, just type in like Fukushima Gyoza. This place is really famous. And you get like a plate with something like 20 to 30 gyoza on, and they are the most masterfully crafted gyoza you'll ever have. The key to a good gyoza is the top needs to be light brown, crispy kind of texture, so you bite in, you get that crispiness, but then the underside is kind of soft and almost like translucent, so you get like the softness, the crispiness, you bite in, and you get this juicy gyoza, hints of garlic and pepper. It's amazing. It's so good. And of course, when you have the gyoza, you put it in some soy sauce and some vinegar. Oh my god, I'm getting hungry now. Fucking up. But for dinner,
eat that ramen. Eat those pot stickers behind you. I would say like I do like it when you go all glassy eyed when you're talking about food, and you got to go a bit Homer Simpson.
3 kinds of cheese. Oh my god, though!
No,
I'm getting pretty hungry. For dinner, I had a vegetable. Charlotte was like, "Let's have a vegan.
Let's have a vegetable."
It was good. I had this vegan cuisine, as Boris Johnson would say, vegan sausage roll.
Vegan.
It was like a courgette and some carrots or something. It was nice, but I did come out going, some meat would have been good though, wouldn't it? And
don't worry, I've got a pepperami in my pocket. I've got Slim Jim. Down my arm.
I've not only talking about this gyoza, but also looking up a photo of it while I was speaking. It's got me fired up. But you got to go to this place, Enban Gyoza, Enban Gyoza. Get yourself to Fukushima City, rent a car from there if you have to. It's like 25-minute drive into the mountains. A little shop does it, but my God, it is the best gyoza you'll ever have. It is insane. And when I last went with a good friend of mine, we ate the whole plate. We were like, again on a gaishimasu, and they brought out another plate, and we devoured and demolished the entire restaurant. So, yeah, I'm really hungry now. Fuck. And we got a story this week though from John from Tunbridge, who says, "Hello, crafty Chris and peaceful Pete." Peaceful Pete? He's the most violent man south of the border.
Outrageous. That's one outrageous thing to say. I am not violent in any way.
He's not, unless you come between him and his coolish ice cream. I just returned for a trip to Japan, and I wanted to write in with a story from a memorable encounter that I had in Hakone. While wandering around, I came across this cosy little izakaya pub. The place looks like it's right out of a samurai flick, and I'm already loving the vibe as I walk in. The place is bustling with locals and a couple of fellow wanderers like myself. I order a cold beer, and the bartender slides it my way. I'm feeling pretty good at this point. I like the way this is written in the present tense. This is very rare. And it's kind of awkward to read out, but I like it. I'm feeling pretty good at this point. The views, the vibes, and now the beer. As I'm sipping on my drink, the owner, this jolly old guy, pops up next to me. He's got this twinkle in his eye and this mischievous grin.
Always a warning sign, isn't it, with stories like this? It's always like, oh, God, what's happening? What's going to happen now?
He had a twinkle in one eye and a hammer in the other, in his hand. He had a twinkle in his eye and a mischievous grin, like he's got a secret stash of sake hidden somewhere. He starts chatting with me. Mind you, my Japanese is basically limited to hello and thank you. But somehow we're having this hilarious broken English conversation. And then, out of nowhere, he disappears behind the bar and re-emerges with these little packages. Ooh, packages. He hands me one, and guess what's inside? Well, fancy toothpicks. Fuck. Like, not your run-of-the-mill toothpicks. Oh, no. These ones are still poshly packaged, like they belong in a toothpick art gallery. I'm trying my best not to burst out laughing, but the sheer absurdity of the situation gets to me. Here I am in this rustic izakaya, in the middle of Hakone Hot Springs, sipping beer and being gifted fancy toothpicks like they're crown jewels. I thank the owner like I've just won the lottery and slip the toothpicks into my pocket like they're priceless artefacts. As I bid farewell to my newfound toothpick guardian, I walk out of the izakaya with a goofy smile on my face, thinking, well, that was definitely a first. And that, my friend, is the tale of how I ended up with the fanciest toothpicks in all of Hakone. It's life's weird, wonderful, and full of surprises, isn't it? John from Tunbridge, a fellow guy from Kent. Well done, John. That was one of the most ridiculous stories we've had in a while. It's quite anticlimactic, but it was made up for the way it was written, made up for it.
Just beautiful toothpicks. I enjoy people who enjoy the finer things in life on a very small scale. You know what I mean? they buy like really fancy boiled sweets from the chemists that are very floral, and they're just little. They've improved really small parts of their lives in really fancy ways. It's not about buying a $100,000 car. It's about just having some fancy sumayoji, which I believe is Japanese for toothpicks.
Here. Well remembered.
Yeah,
that's nice. Again, the interaction, the way this went down, the guy's like, "Hello, I've got just the present for you, my friend." Why, it's a toothpick. It's like, did you have something in your tooth, John? Did you have like some lettuce and some carrot?
Big fish head.
as the shopkeeper, like kind of like, fucking hell, this guy's teeth are mangled. British teeth, strike again. Get the toothpicks out. Yeah. I kind of want to know what the crown jewels of toothpicks even look like. Like what?
Yeah. What is it? Is it plastic? Is it wooden? Is it ornate? Is it carved?
Is it ornate?
Tiny carved.
I wonder. But I want to know. But wonderful stuff. Lovely little story there. It's not as good as the story we had 3 weeks ago, where some locals, some foreign tourists, were walking down the street in Kumamoto. They found out they were breaking the law because they were walking down the middle of the road. A security guard went, "Oi, sumimasen, what are you doing? You're breaking the rules." And he went into his pocket and he pulled out an origami crane and went, "There
throwing
you go.
Star.
That's yours." And a throwing star, a throwing star and a crane, origami. Lovely stuff. You never know what you might get gifted. But it's not all good news, unfortunately, for travellers coming to Japan. Fill us in, Pete. What's going on this week in Japan? Why is it all looking a little bit bleak for travellers who like to get around using the commuter Suica pass?
Yeah, I mean, regrettably, we have to inform you that the beloved abroad in Japan mainstay that has been the Squeaker card, really helpful little kind of. I guess if you're in London, I guess if you're on like the metro system in New York, you have these kind of like little passes that you get, travel around the tube stations and stuff. But in Japan, the Suica card, which I thought had something to do with watermelon, but it doesn't. It's just the onomatopoeic sui, the noise that it would make when you run it through something, and ka, as in card. So the Suica card is just something. Oh, you got one there. Yeah, is a card that can, allow you to buy things from vending machines. You can go into 7-Eleven and use it. You can use it on the tube. It's a really helpful little kind of card. Is that a registered one or an unregistered one, Chris? Do you have to register it with your name and address?
Yes. Those of you watching on YouTube, you can see me holding it. For those of you not on YouTube, it's a silver card with a bit of green and a very jovial-looking penguin. And
adorable.
It's amazing. Like, you can use it in the shops to pay for things. You can use it to get the train. This one is not registered to my name, but you can do it. A friend of mine, recently his dad came over. His dad came over and he made one, and he just wrote "dickhead" or something on it. And his dad didn't find it too funny. Bit of a weird sense of humour. But anyway, imagine just walking around "dickhead" written on
there
his
you go, Dad.
card.
This is what I think about you.
Lovely stuff. But it's very convenient, but it's all gone wrong. The end is nigh.
Yeah. Well, so usually when you arrive in Japan, and that's certainly something I was going to plan on doing at Haneda Airport, I was going to pick up a Squeaker card because they're really useful. Load them up because you end up with a lot of change in your pocket walking around Japan. So it's really good when you pass one of these machines. Just load up your Squeaker card with the cash, and it just means that you're not carrying so much shrapnel around. But as of Wednesday, the sales of the rechargeable e-money card Suica have been suspended. Unfortunately, really useful card. It's been suspended simply because of the massive semiconductor shortage out east. So the ongoing global semiconductor shortage. They've basically said that the Passmo card, the Suica card, they are all being suspended after August the 2nd, i.e. now. So I believe you can still buy them at airports as like a sort of welcome, but you're only allowed one per person apparently, which is just absolutely bizarre. You can still buy like foreign tourist ones at the airport, but you can only buy one at a time, and they just don't know when it's going to come back, which is incredible really. It just seems weird that if you have such a useful little product that everyone uses, they just possibly won't exist in the future because of the shortage of semiconductors, the little bits of tech that go inside the card, which is incredible.
I mean, I've never really looked at a Suica card before. It's really not much to it. It's just like a credit card, right?
No.
A little black stripe on the back there. But, I mean, the welcome Suica cards should be good for tourists, but, yeah, they only last for 28 days. So, in your case, you'll be fine. Right, you'll be able to use it throughout, but it sucks. It's kind of cool getting a Suica card, taking it home, and then coming back to Japan, using it again. I don't know what I'd do without this. Like, I started using this quite aggressively since moving to Tokyo because I travelled by trains and whatnot quite a bit. But also, I just have so much ruddy change. Right, you're always lumbered with like 1 yen coins, 5 yen coins, and I have like a massive box. Right, just filled to the brim with bloody coins in a room somewhere at my apartment. It's just so annoying. And so I vowed to use the Suica card as best as I could, as frequently as I could this year. And it's been a lot better for it. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I hope this semiconductor shortage comes to an end soon. I thought the worst was kind of over after COVID, but apparently not. Do you know why the shortage is still there? I know during COVID, they switched over from cars to something else, right? They changed the semiconductors over, but I don't know.
Right.
What happened? Shipments, right? Held up the world supply.
Yeah, I just think there's just not enough tech sort of kicking around, I guess. I mean, we've sort of seen that with video game launches and stuff like that. You couldn't get a PlayStation 5 for love nor money, unfortunately. That was a real stress for people who really wanted the latest toy for their kids. But it's happening in every aspect. But you just sort of think we've not had the same situation with like Oyster cards or in London.
You've hoarded them.
So yeah,
the
I don't know.
Bloody British people stole all the semiconductors for sodding Oyster cards.
They'll be more valuable than Pokemon cards soon. I tell you what. Actually, speaking of
oh no, not Pokemon.
Something I mentioned on the show a few weeks ago, I recommended a eSIM device, an eSIM app that I used in Belgrade, and I name checked a company that served me quite well in Belgrade. Laura Warga on Instagram let me know that apparently the reception isn't very good with the company Aerolo in Japan. She went through 3 eSIMs in Japan in March, and the best was from Sims Direct. So that's that's a 2 thumbs up for Sims Direct. Apologies for misleading anyone. I'm going to go for Sims Direct then. Fine, Sims Direct.
I thought that was like you were doing some sort of segue to a sponsored segment that I didn't know about then. And they serve me well in Belgrade, and they'll serve you well in Tokyo.
It was me slating. Yeah, it was me slating a solid eSIM company that served me quite well in Belgrade. But apparently it doesn't work in Japan, so very well.
Shit.
So apologies to everybody there. Yeah,
useless. Pete Dawson, useless.
Unlucky, Laura.
God damn it.
Unlucky.
Well, I hope you're able to get your welcome Squeaker card when you come to Japan, Pete, and you'll be well. But yeah, and hopefully this will be over soon. Because it's quite fun getting a Suica card and then getting to put your name on it. Getting to put your name on it.
Yeah.
Feeling like you own it.
Dickhead.
Yes. Don't be like my friend. Don't bully and harass your dad when he comes to Japan. We'll be back in just a moment, guys, with your stories, comments and questions in the fax machine.
Wow.
And we're back with the fax machine. What do we got this week from our listeners? Mr. Dawson, fill us in.
Jonathan from Singapore asks, how is driving during winter in Japan? My wife and I are planning a trip to Osaka next January with my 5-year-old son, and I'm planning to have a road trip from Osaka to Lake Biwa, Gifu, Gero, Takayama, and Shirakawa-go.
Oh.
I have only driven in the snow once in Melbourne to Mount Butler, but the road conditions were quite good. Can I have your opinion about driving on winter roads in Japan, and any recommendations on which company should I rent the car from? Any other things I should be aware of? I understand to avoid driving in a whiteout. Would it be right in saying, Chris, that they don't use salt on the roads of Japan? Because when I was in my little fantasy about importing a Japanese taxi some weeks ago,
yes,
one of the things they said that the cars are quite nicely looked after simply because they don't use salt on the road, so it doesn't rot the underside of your driving vehicle.
I've always wondered why. Yeah, they don't use salt half as much as we do on the roads. Right. I mean, it might simply be because there's so much bloody snow, it would do sod all anyway, probably. Get the roads getting dripped. I know in certain areas like Fukui and Kanazawa and the sort of the west side of Japan, the coastline, they use water, like warm water sprays on the road. So you just got this running, babbling like water, all these towns, which I thought was kind of cool. I remember, because I used to live in Yamagata, which had brutal snow and wind and whiteouts. I remember driving all the way down south to Osaka once, and I got to Fukui, and I was like, bastards! They don't have to worry about the snow. They've got water all over the roads, clearing it for them. And because it's sort of warm, it doesn't ice over, and it keeps flowing. So that was kind of cool.
That's wild.
As for the salt, yeah, I don't know. I think Japanese cars are built better to handle salt in the air in general, because it's an island surrounded by seas on all sides. I don't know if that's a rumour or something I've heard, but I've heard that Japanese cars handle salt better than like American or German cars. But my recommendation in winter driving Japan, don't do it. It's not fun. Only the west side gets buggered. Right, your west-facing Sea of Japan side and Sapporo and Aomori. East side, this side, Tokyo and Sendai, don't get much snow at all. And for the route you're doing, Osaka, you shouldn't have any problems. Lake Biwa, you're fine. Gifu, you're stuffed. Gero, you're really stuffed. Takayama, you're buggered. Shirakawa-go, oh dear. All those areas are in the most snowy mountains in Japan. So please drive extremely carefully.
Get some chains fitted, like what Chris had to do that time.
Yeah, do that. But be careful, be careful. Got one here from AO from Ottawa. AO. It's like Joey the Anime Man. He always says, AO, what up? It's your boy. Dear Charismatic Chris and Perfect Pete. I don't know about that.
Thank you.
I have a trip to Japan planned for October. I got hit by a car, oh my God, while walking out, and I broke both of my legs, so I'm in a wheelchair for a bit. Dear. Oh no, sorry to hear that. I really don't want to cancel my trip. In your experience, how is wheelchair accessibility in the more touristy areas of Japan? Are there areas that I should avoid entirely? AO from Ottawa. Oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that. That sucks, man.
Awful.
Plan for October. I mean, yeah, I think Japan is pretty wheelchair accessible. Like, because of the Olympics, they really went ham on accessibility and building lifts and having public disabled toilets. Like, I think Japan is really well equipped for that. Certainly better than the UK, not just because Japan is a bit more forward-thinking for public services, but because the UK, everything's made of bricks, it's very old. Whereas in Japan, the buildings are quite new, and regularly they renovate and update them. And yeah, I think very much wheelchair accessible. At the same time, I don't know if there's a way you could like wait another month or two. It might be worth doing that. If it was me, I know you really don't want to cancel your trip, but if it was me, I probably would hold out a little bit longer, just in case you have some more complications along the way with the broken legs. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, though. I don't listen to my advice.
Not a doctor.
What do you think, Pete?
Don't listen
what would you do if you broke your
Yeah,
legs?
I mean, I think the hustle and bustle of places like Tokyo, you sort of do think, well, I mean, that doesn't feel wheelchair accessible. But you look at like the tube in London, for example, and
God, no.
there's only a few stations that you can actually access. I mean, it's such an old network, but the provision for anyone who needs accessibility is absolutely dreadful. In Tokyo, even though it's really busy and everyone's kind of like sort of packed in, there are a lot of lifts everywhere in every, even like for just overpasses. There's ramps, there's lifts and stuff. So I think everything can be better. But from what I've seen, and obviously I didn't require that unless I was in a situation where I was particularly exhausted. I didn't use half of these things, but I must admit, like I have noticed that it's actually quite
lazy.
It's actually quite a forward-looking place to be when it comes to getting around. If you're on two wheels,
he's riding the elevators around all day. Who needs to walk when you take the elevator?
Up and down.
I like the sentence.
You never see a paternoster anymore. I want to see a paternoster.
I like the sentence. Everything can be better. I like that. I want that.
Everything can be better, but some places are better than others. That's all I'm saying.
Animal Farm. But yeah, don't worry. You'll honestly, I think you're pretty well placed if you're in a wheelchair to come to Japan. Every station has a lift, to my knowledge, to my memory. So don't worry about it too much. But all the best to you, AO. Hope you make a swift recovery. All the best to you. One last question from Aki from Los Angeles. He says, hello to the delightful duo, Chris and Pete. As an aspiring polyglot, I've had the somewhat enjoyable experience of learning bits and pieces of different languages with variable success. As two people that travel quite extensively within or outside Japan, I was wondering, have you ever wanted to learn a new language, and how did that go? Cheers, Aki from LA. Well, Aki, I learned Spanish and German at school, and I was very crap at both of them. But I answered this question on the AMA, the Reddit AMA I did the other day, and yeah, Spanish. I love the sound of Spanish. I love all things Spanish. I'd love to spend like 3 months in Spain, taking up Spanish, having a siesta, eating the paella. I sound like the most British tourist ever. What's wrong with me? Yeah. But I'd love to have another stab at Spanish and give it a shot. And I still remember like vocabulary from like 10, 15 years ago, like Las Tiendas. That means shops. And that's the extent of mine. And castle. El Castillo. There you go. El Castillo. I remember all the words. What about you, Mr. Donaldson? Right. Polyglot Donaldson.
Oh, every time I go anywhere, I always get very excited about learning the language. The amount of like e-books and apps I've got on my phone, or certainly did have, trying to learn different languages in different parts of the world. Whenever I've gone on holiday, even for just a few days, I try and learn a few choice stock phrases. But I just don't have the sort of brain that can keep that stuff in, man. Like, I'm just not good at remembering stuff, and I find it's very slow going for me. I just don't have that kind of brain, and I'm sure people say everyone's got that kind of brain. It just doesn't go in. Just my memories are just not. They just leak out of my brain. So it's quite difficult. But I'll always have a go. I'll always have a crack.
I mean, learning Japanese is probably like the funnest thing I've done while living here. It's been so rewarding and so bloody fun. I take it for granted. I forget about it, and I've tried to speak more Japanese recently, and I've been enjoying life more for it, to be honest. Just chatting with locals and trying to, because one of the things I want to do is interview more people and speak more Japanese in videos, and so I've really had a more concerted effort. But I find with learning Japanese though, I'd go through these phases where I'd learn like 100 words, and I'd stuff them into my mind and I'd pack them in. But it would take several weeks for them to sort of filter through, like a sieve, like bunging loads of things into a sieve and waiting for it to come out. It's like that with words. It takes time to go through. But I know the older you get, the more difficult it gets as well. So I'm not looking forward to that. So maybe the clock is ticking. Need to crack on with learning Spanish. Need to go for my 3-month holiday. God, I want that holiday. But holidays aside, I am off to the UK very soon. In fact, the next podcast, I believe, I will be face-to-face with the great Pete Donaldson himself, hopefully, providing he's not gone to Japan. I'm hoping we can find a window in London where we can hook up.
Don't do it through a window.
Not through a window.
We'll be in the same room, mate. I'm just hoping that my massive amounts of pollen-related hay fever will have subsided by that point. The last 4 episodes, I've been sniffling all the way through it. So apologies, everyone. It's been rather.
No, you're dehydrated from all the absinthe you drank, and your
I know, yeah, and the
cheeky
absinthe
night
as
out.
well. Yeah, that didn't help.
Incriminating, but I'm hoping to see Pete in person, do some podcasts together, and then the next time you see this set on camera on the podcast, Pete Donaldson himself could be sitting here while I am in the UK. So it's a fucking disastrous shit show, struggling around. Who knows what the next podcast will look like or what it'll be like, but hopefully it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to going back to the UK for the first time in several months for the book signings, a few other things, and travel and whatnot. I'm looking forward to just getting out of this damn country in summer. It's been really not fun the last 2 months. And you were a brave man for coming here, Mr. Donaldson, in August. The only good thing is most of the festivals in Japan happen in August generally. So hopefully you can catch a few. There'll be something going on, I'm sure. But
not penis one.
Oh, no, don't go that one. I think that's in September.
One.
I'm not sure. But yeah, go there.
Is it right?
Do that. Vlog it. But for now, guys, keep the stories, questions, comments coming in to abroadjapanpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us as always. We'll be back in the next few days to do all over again. But for now, no matter where you might be out there in the big wide world, have yourself a great few days. We'll see you right back here to do all over again on the Abroad Japan podcast, probably from London in the next one. Have a good one.
Ta-ta.